Hi, this is Dr. Tochi, and this is a continuation of our discussion about the Jesus Egregore and how to recognize that it still has a hold on you or someone that you love or care about. So by now you know that the Jesus Egregore is not just history, myth, or theology, okay? It's alive in the psyche. Its influence doesn't end when you stop attending church. The hold of the egregore lingers in your subconscious, in your emotions, and how you relate to authority, guilt, and power. So the key here is recognition. Until you see where it still has a grip on your thoughts, behaviors, and spiritual life, you will continue to unconsciously feed it. Recognition is liberation. Naming the ways the egregore still lives in you is the first step to reclaiming your energy back from it. Now, to make this concrete, let's look at some ways how the Jesus Egregore often contributes to hold sway long after someone has left the church. Authority and obedience is one way, okay? Many former Christians find themselves uneasy when questioning leaders or structures, even outside of religion. A boss, a teacher, a government, law enforcement, there is a subtle instinct to submit. That instinct is the shadow of the egregore, teaching that obedience equals holiness. Another way that the Jesus Egregore continues to hold sway over us, okay, is through fear and punishment. The fear of hell is perhaps the most insidious tether. Even those who consciously reject it may wake up from nightmares of damnation or find themselves over apologizing for mistakes as though eternal punishment looms. Are you one of those who keeps on saying, I'm sorry for every little thing, even things that you have no business being sorry for? You want to check that, okay? For example, a man who has been an atheist for years still finds himself whispering, God forgive me, after a burst of anger. The reflex is automatic. That reflex is the egregore feeding, and it's feeding off of him. And some of us still do that, okay? We say something and we say, oh God, forgive me. Jesus, forgive me for this thing I'm saying or this thing I'm about to say. That's the egregore still feeding off of you, okay? Another way that the egregore still holds us is through guilt and shame as a habit. Christianity made guilt a virtue and a proof of humility. Even without a church, the pattern still lingers. We feel guilty when resting, shame when enjoying pleasure, and self-criticism while thriving. For example, a woman might be meditating and feeling peaceful. Moments later, she'll feel guilty. I should be praying instead. I should be serving others. That guilt is not hers. It's the egregore's chain. Another way that we can recognize the hold of the egregore is through community pressure. The Jesus Egregore thrives on belonging. Even years later, ex-Christians may find it painful and hard to tell friends and family about their spiritual path that they're now on because they fear rejection and they fear ridicule. The egregore whispers, outside the flock, you are alone. Outside the flock, you are unprotected. Outside the flock, you are being deceived. Okay? For example, a man avoids bringing his tarot deck to family gatherings, not because he believes it's wrong, but because of the voice of the egregore that still says, they will not love you if you stray. You are condemned if you show up here amongst your family and friends with these tarot cards. They will tell you the truth that this is of the devil or this thing is demonic. So he doesn't come with his tarot cards. Okay? Another way that the Jesus Egregore has a hold in us is through language and thought loops. Phrases like God is in control, everything happens for a reason, God taketh, God giveth and taketh. Okay, God knows best. It is God's will. I am nothing without him. Often echo years after leaving the church. These mantras act like mental programming that reasserts the egregore's frame of reality for us. In a moment of crisis, for example, even a long departed Christian may still hear themselves think or even say out aloud, "Oh, Jesus, take the wheel." That's the egregore's voice speaking inside their own mind. So, in summary, these are not just small slips. Each represents a way that Jesus Egregore clings to us through reflex, memory, fear, guilt, shame, and longing for belonging. Recognizing these subtle holds is the beginning of your freedom. Okay? So here's a little ritual you can do to help release the hold of this Jesus Egregore on you. Sit quietly with your notebook and pen, and on one page, write down phrases, reflexes, or fears that still echo from your Christian past. Circle the ones that still carry emotional charge. Now, with a red pen or marker, draw a line through each circled item and say aloud, "This is not mine. I release this hold." If safe, burn that page as a symbolic cutting of cords. Okay. And here's something for you to think about until our next class. Where does the Jesus Egregore still whisper in my life? What would my thoughts and actions look like if I no longer obeyed those whispers? Importantly, why am I still afraid of this Jesus Egregore? So I hope you learned something from today's class, and I hope that you practicalize the ritual and the journaling that I have shared in this class. Remember that you can get a hold of me through my website, tochi.us or drtochi.com. Okay? I have spiritual practice coaching, dream interpretation, divination, spiritual counseling, and more on my website. Remember, this is an opportunity for you to gain sense and think for yourself. Gain your freedom. A lot of us are still bound by religious thinking, and it contributes to us being poor and suffering from poverty. Remember, in all you're getting, get wealth. For wisdom without wealth is just motivational speaking.